Raidieraksts Drošinātājs.
To begin, I wanted you to tell me a little bit about yourself. In one of the interviews a year ago, I was here in Munich and I spoke with a Ukrainian woman who moved here after a full-scale invasion, but you have been here already for more than 10 years.
Yes.
So what brought you here from Ukraine to Germany?
Second marriage, as it happens quite often. When I was visiting my sister, who lives in Germany since many years, I met my future husband, and the decision was made to move into Germany. I moved 2012, and since then I'm living here in Bavaria.
So you're living here for a long time. So do you consider yourself Ukrainian but also a German now?
Yes, it's both. It's always both. When you move, you cannot put like a border between two countries, two cultures. You are a little bit of both. So I cannot tell I am German, or I cannot tell I am completely Ukrainian because I moved from there. But anyhow, mixed culture somehow.
And do you have something Ukrainian, traditions or something in your family as well?
Hard to say. Of course, Christmas, for instance, we were celebrating in two different ways. It was like Orthodox way and Catholic as in Germany. And that's actually it, probably, because, traditions, it's about education, it's about culture, it's about what was in your family, in Ukrainian family or in German family or whatsoever. But now it's all mixed up. I cannot. It's too many years gone. And especially I have a daughter, and she was supposed to be integrated in this culture. So it was also more German, let's say, than Ukrainian.
If it's not a secret, what do you do in Germany on a daily basis? What is your profession?
The question is quite complicated, but in Ukraine I was a doctor, a cardiologist. When I moved to Germany, it was a question either to invest my time to make this Anerkennung, we say in Germany, to be able to work as a doctor here, or to invest this time into my family, into our business and so on. I made a decision against the medicine, let's say. I started to do finances for our company, and so far I'm doing it since many years already. No regrets, but I'm missing medicine a little bit, but it was really too hard to go through all this process and so on. Now they want to change it, but at my time it was not that easy.
So we often hear from our guests that the full-scale invasion changed their lives more or less. How do you remember this February 24 living here in Germany? What and how maybe changed for you, or it didn't change anything maybe?
Yeah, it changed a lot because I'm originally from Kharkiv. My father at the time was living in Sumy, and these were two cities which met as first this invasion, because both are the border cities, let's say. That's why it was quite hard, because I have a lot of relatives there, a lot of friends there, and it was really tough. You cannot forget it. And I didn't know what I can do. I didn't know how can I help, for instance, my father, because it was not possible. The city was already surrounded by enemies, and there was no in, no outs at the moment. And that's why, we started, me and my daughter, we started to look around what we can do from here, from Germany, how we can help, how we can change. We participated on some demonstrations at the place that we are living, in Munich also, and then we found it was in the church, in the Greek Catholic Church in Munich. It was a huge Sammelstelle, I'm not sure how to say it in English. They were a gathering place. There were the Ukrainians, Germans, everyone was bringing something and doing something, and there were a lot of cars, people and packages and so on. And because had a medicine background. I've seen the Red Cross, and I asked if I can help somehow, and it was necessary because there were like lack of knowledge by the people sorting out all this medicine and pills and so on, which were brought by all Germans, all citizens of Munich and around. And it was a start, and I'm still here. So it was the beginning of the foundation, actually, this charity foundation which we have now.
That was already in February or in March?
It was already in February. It was like first week of the war.
About this organization, Munich Helps Ukraine, what kind of help does it provide to Ukrainians? I understand it's both for Ukrainians here and also in the Ukraine. Or
We did it in first year because it was really necessary to help Ukrainians coming to Germany. We had huge warehouse. We can sort out clothing. We gather also some food, some meal, and so on. The Ukrainians moving to refugees, let's call it refugees, they could take some clothing because many of them just were in the places with like small bags, couldn't take anything with. And this help at the beginning was really necessary. Later on, we decided to close this part because in Germany it was already organized in a better way, and then living in Ukraine was no more that chaotic. So it was not really the essential after 1 year doing that. And now our main focus is on helping Ukrainian in Ukraine.
What were those things that were needed the most for the refugees? Like you said, clothes, yes.
Clothing, yes, and toothpaste, shampoos, whatever, the essentials, which we had also our partner at that time. They provided us with meal every week. We could pick it up and we brought it to our warehouse and we can split it or just make some gathering to give some food.
And the Germans were collecting these things and brought to the warehouse, or how those things were brought to?
We had on our own bus which was given us for use by one big company in Germany, so we could pick it by ourselves, pick it up. From this, but basically, yes, Germans were bringing food, clothing, whatsoever. So it was non-stop process because everyone was shocked on what has happened, and everyone was willing to help to Ukrainians and Ukrainians coming, Ukrainians which are still there, and so on. And they still are. The Germans. It's really. There are still really a lot of people you've seen right now. Yes, there's a bag with some meals, some things which we can pack and send. That. So it means At
that time, the warehouse was crowded. There were many Ukrainians coming for the help.
Yes, it was crowded. There were many Ukrainians, and then actually that's why we closed it, because there were not that many anymore. Because this kind of help there was no needed anymore.
Speaking about the situation now, how big is this whole organization, the team?
Well, it's it's much smaller as it were, because a big part of helpers was actually refugees themselves, and some Ukrainians living here, so it was maybe 50-50. And the refugees, they have to settle their own lives, their new lives here. That's why it was no more possible to spend here so much time. Well, and now, about numbers, I cannot really tell, because basically on the top of the organization now 5 people who has responsibility and so on. And helpers, it depends, up to 20, I would say.
So, and all of you have work, and when do you do stuff here? On the weekends?
Yes, I have as I said, we have our own company. I can move my working hours as I want, let's say, or as it's difficult to say. It's not only weekend. If it would be on the weekend, we can close already. And so I am like...
well, it depends on the situation, yes. So sometimes it's weekend, sometimes it's not only weekend.
It's every weekend. It's every weekend. Every Saturday I'm here. It's but sometimes it's also like today or, I don't know, week before. I've been here like whole week because there were really a lot of things to do.
So what do you transfer to the Ukraine right now? What are those things? How do you gather them? And
if we are talking about gathering and collecting, it's mostly clothing and also some toys, also some shoes and some meal, which is Germans are bringing here. But we also like collecting money, donations, and we are able to buy something also in Ukraine. It saves us logistic time, additional expenses, and it's much easier for us because it's like you're all over around. You can have an invoice, you can pay this invoice, and they send purchased items directly to a recipient.
And how hard it is to deliver it to Ukraine? We know there are many smaller or bigger organizations also in Latvia who are bringing stuff there. How hard it is to get there from here and to get it in Ukraine and to the ending.
It's not easy, but in these 3 years we have our suppliers, let's say, who helps us. We some small cars, big cars, some of them are free of charge, some of them giving us a huge discount. We have like possibility from our helpers here to send big car to Poland, and from Poland it's easier to transfer it to Ukraine because it's basically on the border.
And I saw that the main focus, at least what I saw on the website, that the main focus is assistance to Ukrainian hospitals. Why hospitals? Is it because of you?
Yeah. Yeah, well, one can say yes. I am coming from medical family. I am coming from the area which suffered most. And I have a lot of contacts and I have like a lot of persons of trust. It's not like it's just, sending something in somewhere, not knowing at the end where does it go. So that's why I know what is exactly missing. So you cannot really tell me, we need this and that, and one can see if it is true or not. And that's why it was our main focus. But also it's like helping inland refugees of Ukrainians. It's also it's the second main focus, and also kids.
And it works, I guess, both ways. You maybe get some requests from Ukraine, and you also tell people over there what you have received here.
Of course. If I have something here, I know whom I can offer this because of different needs of every chain in the medical system, So like small hospitals, big hospitals, or like, there are some teams of doctors. They are helping like on their own, and they are making, let me find some right words for that. Like one team I know, they have 3 cars and they're just making house visits in the area near the front line. So this is like the part of medical system which didn't exist before. And it's existing now because there is like the demand, And again, because I am familiar with the system of medical help in Ukraine, it's easier for me to find really the trusted person and help exactly as it is needed.
What are those things that you maybe send to the hospitals, or what hospitals are needed? Well, it's mostly, I guess, some like small things,
Depends. If I have very often I have good Germans, let's say, offering their help, for ultrasound device. They have one, they can donate it, and they're asking if it's needed. Or hospital beds, or what else? Like this portable ultrasound device. It's also because, the small hospitals, near the front line, they do not have much space and they have to move quite often. And there are still some people living there, and their help is always needed. And that's why also like to connect this little thing to your mobile, and you have like a good device to make some diagnostic. It's also needed. It's expensive. It's not really something like €100. So it's more than 7,000 euro.
And it has been already 3 years of full-scale war, 10 years since the big war. It is clear that the big flows of refugees has passed already since 2022, 23. How do you see, maybe you hear or know something, how many Ukrainians still are coming here, at least maybe you know in Munich? I guess, well, the people are still going out of Ukraine.
Yeah, it's not that intense, but still a lot of people coming, because every day new cities started to be bombed, and people just are scared about their lives. They have to move. What about the kids? So
do you think that
I don't have numbers? If it's not.
I
really
understand. Do you think that Germany provides sufficient assistance to Ukrainians now living here in terms of, I don't know, the benefits, integration, education? How do you see how Germany is helping Ukrainians?
Yeah, well, from what I know, Germany is one of the best doing that, and because of the system, because of, like, for instance, language course have been paid by the country, by Germany, and integrational course, and the assistance is really huge.
Is there anything that you see that needs to be maybe improved or?
My father is a refugee, and from what I see, he is okay. Well, I cannot complain, really. There are a lot of bureaucracy always, but without that you cannot really do anything. I cannot complain, really. I really.
And the elections is coming, and I saw that also this conservative party with the Merz in the front, he soon could be the next chancellor, and he suggested that these unemployment benefits for Ukrainians should be cut, so that they go and find a job and not just like sitting on these benefits here in Ukraine. What do you think about this?
Yeah, this part I find actually not that bad, because if you are coming to a new country and, well, it's clear it won't be for like 1 month or two. If you want to stay here, you have to find your way in this country. Well, if you are still young, if you have some job experience, so probably from my side, maybe what I would expect, it's that Germans make this process of Anerkennung, still I don't know how to say it in English, like for the doctors. If it would be possibly make easier, most probably a lot of doctors, a lot of Ukrainians could work easily and not sitting and waiting, expecting these social payments and so on. Maybe that part could be improved.
And it is no secret that after the full-scale invasion, many young men flew from Ukraine. So, and also here in Germany. So otherwise they would be in an army right now, but they didn't want to. So what do you think about these people? How do you feel about this? That there are of course some also evaded the army with bribes and so on. It's still a problem.
It's still a problem, and well, I understand them as a human being. Nobody wants to die, and especially if you are really scared to die, and if you don't have these patriotical feelings and so on. Even if one force you, I don't think that he will be a good soldier or whatsoever. But as a Ukrainian, helping Ukrainians, as a Ukrainian watching what is going on in the country, I am against this completely. I do not respect these decisions. As I said, as a human being, yeah, completely understandable, but not at this time.
And Ukraine is intensifying these efforts to try to bring more Ukrainians from abroad back to Ukraine. How do you think is it possible to somehow convince maybe first of all, those men who are here because they don't want to be in army, and maybe the ordinary people as well, so they're able to return? There are these talks of peace right now, maybe.
Well, convincing, it's a big word. I don't know. I do not see... Okay, there are families which flew really because they didn't have any place to live. They had kids, whatsoever. These families, a lot of families actually waiting until it will be safe and they will go back. It's really a lot of families. I know a lot of families. My father is the first one. He is waiting until we all more or less safe, and as the first he will go back. He is counting days. I don't know how he counts, but he's counting. So based on what information, he won't find himself in this country. Young families or young single people, most probably they will stay here. Because in these 3 years, they started a new life here. And this life, it's not that bad. Finding themselves and finding a new way, building families and so on. So it will be, the big part will move back, but a big part will stay here.
Yeah, because there are those talks about maybe ceasefire, but I guess we see that there will still be, the country will be unstable, and I guess for most of the people who are living abroad, they now have some sense of stability, and so it's...
But there are also, a lot of them couldn't find, stability is okay, but a sense of life here, They cannot work as they used to in Ukraine because of whatever language or problem with the diplomas, whatsoever. And this is also essential because if you've been an engineer in Ukraine, you were doing a good job, you were getting your salaries and so on. Here you cannot do this. They can offer to go, to cut some trees here, but it's not the level you used to, And most probably these kind of people, they will go back, in my opinion, of course.
And in Germany and elsewhere in Europe, we see the attitude towards migrants who have already come here or want to come here from the countries with very different cultures. This attitude is changing and getting worse towards these people also here in Germany. How do you see, what about attitude from Germans towards the Ukrainians in these years? Does it change, or it's still the same as it were when those big flows were coming in, or how do you see it?
I don't really see big changes. I see that really a lot of Ukrainians could integrate themselves pretty well in the society, also in the working here, starting their business and so on. And from Germans, well, I don't see any changes. Maybe I'm not really, if I would be myself, fresh immigrant, I would feel that probably. But, at the moment, at the beginning, what has been changed? At the beginning, it was oh, poor Ukrainians, oh my God, how can I help? And so on. Now it's at the same level, people just coming to the country, saving themselves from the war. That's it.
The Germans are treating Ukrainians like equal, yes, not like refugees.
Yes, actually, yes. That's what sometimes even I read some article in the newspaper. They are building the new Asylunterkunft in German. It's like refugee camp, let's say, or refugee something. And the people from the area, they checked conditions of this camp, and people from the area weren't actually okay with the conditions for Ukrainian refugees coming, because they said, it's not possible to live in this condition, make it better. So I find it's it's really good sign, because, they treat it very good. As an equal.
I guess in the most countries, all countries, this help towards Ukraine, not about political or military, but ordinary people-to-people help, it's decreasing, donations as well, I guess. How do you see it in Germany? At least in Latvia, donations, well, if we compare it to the 22 or 23, well, it's of course going down, yes. So everyone's like, this popular word, tired of war. How do you see it?
It's same here, but luckily there are still a lot of people helping, and that's why we cannot close our foundation. We have to work on it, and I think we are the biggest foundation so far in Bavaria, an active one, working in all directions. So we're gathering still good money, let's say, and we're still able to help Ukrainians in Ukraine.
And you communicate, of course, daily with the Germans for many years. How do you see this? Is there awareness in Germany about what is happening in Ukraine, how dangerous it is, not only, of course, for Ukraine, but also for the Germans? Do Germans feel that they are at least somehow threatened as well?
I cannot tell about all Germans. I'm meeting different kind of. Well, the biggest part, of course, they are aware, they understand, and so on. But unfortunately, there is also a part assuming that Russia and Ukraine are still brothers, and it's only about politics and so on. And they are really they reject this. They do not accept. They do not understand it. They do not want to understand that it's on which level it is, and that how far it's from the reality what they're telling. Well, there are different Germans. Like everywhere, of course. And there are this kind of and that kind of. Mm-hmm. Difficult to say, but I didn't see any who loves the Russian president or so on. I didn't meet any yet. So maybe they're hiding.
Last question. Are you optimistic about what is going to happen in the near future? There was, of course, in the first months or even years, there was this sense that yes, we can win, this rhetoric that we will bring back all the territories and so on, and now, of course, it also in the rhetorics we see that it is maybe possible sometime in the far future, diplomatically, or I don't know how, that it seems that there will need to be, of course, compromises. How do you see the nearest future? Do you have at least some kind of optimism, or you're a 100% pessimist?
Very complicated question. I'm not an optimistic, but I have to be one, because otherwise I won't find any motivation and energy to do what I'm doing. But I'm not a political expert. I'm not someone who reads every day all news and analyze it and so on. I'm not, because it would be too much. And that's why I'm just doing what I'm doing. At least I can help a little bit, and the rest I cannot change anyway. So I just wait while doing something good.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, that's it.
Sure. You're welcome.
Raidieraksts Drošinātājs. Paldies, Rihard, par sarunu ar Olenu Kiseļovu, Ukraiņu brīvprātīgo Minhenē. Tas, kā Olena kāda izskatās šī viņas bāze, kurā viņa darbojas, to jūs varat redzēt savām acīm portālā LSM.lv, kur, kā parasti nedēļas nogalē, parasti svētdienas viducī, tiek publicēta šī intervija rakstiskā formātā ar visām fotogrāfijām. Tā kā droši lasiet arī to, padalieties ar šo interviju, ja tā jums šķita svarīga. Jā, vairosim mūsu drošinātāju pulku. Spiediet īkšķīšus, lieciet zvaigznītes, rakstiet mums komentārus uz Drošinātājs @Latvijas Radio LV, e-pasta formātā vai arī sociālajos tīklos, lietojot mirkļbirku Drošinātājs.
Un tiekamies jau pavisam drīz, jo jauna epizode katru ceturtdienu. Protams, klausieties arī mūsu Latvijas radio ēterā, gan ceturtdienās īsumā, gan piekdienās arī nedaudz īsāka, bet, ja gribat dzirdēt pilno versiju, protams, meklējiet mūs kā vienmēr straumēšanas platformās, kur būsim jau pavisam drīz atpakaļ arī nākamnedēļ. Tikmēr atceramies, drošinātājs skaidri un personīgi par karu Ukrainā.
Visu labu! Raidieraksts Drošinātājs.